Bish, bash, bosh, smash, bang, wallop. Here we are again on Chatting Up a Chick. Fly from Cluckingham Palace, week 3 of lockdown. My main sweaty waistband is on the show. Martin Pugh, say hello.
Hello.
Awesome. Yes, we are back. Week 2 of Chatting with the Pew. I love that. That's my new tagline. This week we are chatting about what's great and what's not so great about living in New Zealand. And that got me thinking, Mr. Pew. That got me thinking. And I started thinking about, well, when things are great or they're not so great, but we're always striving for something at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So it got me thinking about, why don't we start talking about something very philosophical and something that I'm sure Plato and Aristotle were spending hours and hours and hours massaging their thoughts to each other about what is the final destination. So, it's a very broad question and one that I will sit upon for weeks, years, forever. But it was more based around, I wanted to get to know you better, Martin Pugh, because I know you're a fantastic member of the Waimakariri community here in North Canterbury. You work for the community team at the council. That's how I know you, because we both work at the same place. I've given too much away now, so I'm going to get myself in trouble. This isn't political, all right? It's not political. So, from your perspective, if you could regale your reasons for why you do what you do, and then kind of mix into that what the final destination is for you as someone who has chosen the path of wanting to work with our community.
Man, that is such a broad question, Chris. But yeah, totally. So,
well, I'm a broad bean lover, so
I am not. I'm not a broad bean lover, despite it being a humble staple food of many.
I'll tell you what, it gets through the system quickly. That's all I can say.
I've got an interesting question on that. Are you a broad bean lover who peels his broad beans, or do you eat them with skin on?
Oh, all in. I'm all in.
Okay.
I'm all in. I'm all in, all out. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's get back to the question.
Okay. Yeah.
Such a tangent.
So the final destination. What is the final destination? Yeah.
No. So what is? Well, start off by telling us what you do for the council and how that interacts with your vision of the final destination. So kind of build up to your final destination.
I see. Yeah. You want the beginning, middle, and end while your phone rings.
Yeah, look, I've just hung up. I know who it is. It's the wife. Oh. She'll do. She'll wait.
Yeah, we're gonna ring back. So I don't know. In my mind, working for the community is it's actually kind of a privilege, to be honest, to get to work in the community team and to be able to work and serve a community. So what do you actually do? What's
your actual title and your purpose within the community team?
Community development facilitator is my job title in that workspace, and the work is exactly what the job title says. It's developing and facilitating the community to develop.
So what are you trying to develop in essence?
Well, the community. And I know that seems like a broad answer, but we're talking in broad bean broadities here. So what is the community in my mind? The community in my mind is an interdependent group of people that live in a space near each other, and they're able to know each other, they're able to depend on each other, they're able to be around one another. I mean, we're humans, we're gregarious creatures, the majority of the human population like to live near other humans. Why? We like to socialize. Why else is lockdown so hard for people? We like to socialize, we like to be social, we like to do things with other people, we like to have shared experiences. It's part of being human. for the majority of people. So to me, community it's bigger than a job, and community development's the kind of job that, you're part of a community,
All
but you
right.
also work in the community. So it never really finishes. You don't have to work in a job of community development to develop the community. You can develop the community by just being in the community, and that is the most common way that people actually interact with their community. They volunteer. They're part of they're part of a volunteer group, or they deliver Meals on Wheels, or they get involved with their local time bank, or they chat to their
All right,
neighbours.
don't talk to me about Time Bank. They owe me time. It's lucky you're no longer running that thing. Otherwise, I'll be on you like a dirty rash.
Time Bank by my committee, they're a fantastic organisation.
Oh,
Check them out if you're local.
They are very good. Going back to what you were saying, so in terms of developing a community, I see it as a two-pronged approach. So you have, from my perspective, you have your ultimate destination or the final destination. So like a community that you would love to see in a utopian sense. And then you have the other essence of community where there is a ceiling that you can hit when it comes to developing a community because of the diversity, different thought processes, different religious beliefs, different secular beliefs, whatever it might be. So talking in that sense, tell me, what is your utopian idea of community?
Oh man. Well, first of all, there would be unicorns with rainbows, and there would be fizzy pop and streamers and party poppers.
Is this fizzy pop sugar-free?
That's a great question. I'll tell you what, let's cater to all dietary requirements. Let's go sugar-free and non-sugar-free. So, but the sugar-free version has to have no artificial sweeteners in it, because I don't know about them. They just not a big fan.
They said you do lally.
Yeah, they just seem too good to be true. And things that are too good to be true, most of the time they seem to actually be. That is the truth of it, I'm sure there's a small percentage of time where things that are too good to be true are actually true, but I don't think artificial sweeteners are one of those things. Anyway, we're getting off topic. What is my utopian community? I don't know. I think a community, and I think we've probably all had differing levels of community involvement as human beings within our lifetime. I mean, you can be part of a home community with your family. You can be part of a school community. You can be part of a work community, and they can all be little micro communities that coexist underneath a broader community kind of umbrella. So, and we have that in all across our country and all across the world. And everyone's idea of a community, a utopian community, is different. What's my idea of a utopian community? A community that works together for the benefit of each other, that supports people and makes sure that the people within its community are all supported to have, to have resources so that they can live a fruitful, a dignified, a fair life. I think when you have that situation, when you have people that are supported to live their best life, that's my idea of a community. And people that share, people that care. Yeah.
I suppose that then see, I'm a man who I love zoning in on words, because I think words are very important, because without words we wouldn't know what we was talking about. You know what I'm saying? but when you say there about being fair, like for me, what does that mean? Because depending on what social location you come from, what's fair totally changes.
Totally.
Depending on that person.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that my fear, I'm not going to impose my fairness or my equity onto you, Chris. I'm not going to come to your house and say, right, this is what fair means to us and to you now. Because you're right, fairness is different from me to you. But I think when there's a community, there's some shared common ground, there's some shared values in a sense. There's some shared, like if we look at the Venn diagram concept, you know what I'm talking about. There's the two circles and they overlap. So I mean, hey, your fairness and my fairness might be side by side, but it's probably more likely as human beings that our fairness and my fairness is more overlapping and there's a bit of a hole through the middle, you know?
Dude,
I would hazard a guess, the fact that you're talking to me, we're on a video call together, that our fairness is kind of like that's it, the Venn diagram. Yeah.
But that looks like a cult symbol.
Yeah. Well, and hey, communities when they go wrong can turn into cults. So you got to be careful of that. You got to be cautious. You don't want your Venn diagrams too close together, and that's where the benefit of diversity comes in, which you kind of mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So in essence, to create a utopian community is based upon creating a community that is the next step down. So what I was saying before, where you have like, you know, your utopian community and then creating a community that has that ceiling, that's, you know, that realistic expectations of being able to say, right, here's where a community kind of can go as high as, because of that overlapping fairness cult symbol you was giving me. So in essence, a ceiling community is a utopian community, because you have to find a situation or a place within that middle where the two circles overlap and be able to say, right, well, this is unrealistic if we go too far to this side, it's unrealistic if we go too far to the other side. We have to say what we agree with in the middle. That is in essence going to be a utopian community.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Or am I just kind of thinking too realistically and not being optimistic enough about creating a world where violence, oppression, and love reign free? Well, violence and oppression don't reign free, but love reigns free.
Chris, I think again the fairness we talked about being, you know, uniquely individual to everyone, but there being some commonality. And I think utopia as well has a lot of uniquities and individual. So again, your utopia might be you and me doing these video calls every couple of days, but that might not be my utopia, for example.
Mate, do you realize how dystopian that is? Do you not realize the amount of work? Like, you may think that we just talk and then I save it and then put it onto YouTube. Nah. There's editing that goes into this bad boy, all right? I spend a lot of time editing. I make sure I get some cheap laughs. I want some cheap laughs. There'll be some fart noises somewhere.
Nice. But I guess my point is not about the amount of work you put into this, mate, because, hey, hats off to you. But instead about the perspective of utopia being different to everyone, and so I don't know. I don't think, hey, my definition of the utopian community, I don't want to impose it on anyone. I'm not going to say, hey, this is what you need to create to achieve utopia, because utopia is different. Utopia is different from me here than it is to you 9 kilometers away, or it might be different to what my cousin wants, you know, 100 kilometers away. But yeah, I don't think that needs to. I don't think the differences in our approaches to community need to stop us striving or having a crack. You know, like, hey, it's totally cool to have a go at building a community. Let's go back to what Gandhi said. What do? Be the change you want to see in the world. And I think that, like, if you ever want to be involved in community, think about what you would like your world, our world, to represent, and go and be it. Go and try and be it. You may not be successful, but that's all right. Not everyone is. Not everyone is all the time. Even successful people, or people that society deems to be successful and puts them on a pedestal, aren't always successful. People make mistakes. But if you don't have a go, you'll never know.
Exactly.
Sorry, a bit of a rant, with a long one.
No. I'm very keen on giving things a go, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, you just go back.
Totally.
Like, there's no harm in saying, you know what, that didn't work. Let's go back to what we did before.
And think about this too, like what happens if, I'm sitting here in my bubble, literally. But what happens if after COVID, level 1, we're all good. What happens if I want to build a community, but I'm too scared? I don't want to go out there. I don't want to talk to my neighbors. I'm afraid they might judge me. They might not like me. They
Maybe
probably
with
won't
that
like me
beard.
anyway. Yeah, that's not like I'm a weirdo. But if I let that fear stop me actually doing that, nothing happens. And then the final destination, as I lay there, preparing myself to depart the ethereal earth, and I haven't done anything about it because I've been limited by my fear. I can imagine that would play heavily on the mind of a person leaving the earth. I don't know. I haven't been there, so
dude,
Yeah.
I've got 124 questions for you. Just
Right.
just not sure which one to ask first. My initial one was like, I want to know what you think what happens to us when we die. But that opens up a totally new can of worms, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I
complete-
was asked that on a bridge one time. What happens when you die? And do you remember that scene in The Lion King?
A really sad one or the happy one?
The sad one is when Mufasa dies. Yeah, it's pretty sad actually.
Depends on your perspective.
Before Mufasa dies, there's a scene where he's telling Simba, we eat the antelope, and the antelope eat the grass. And when we die, we become the grass. The antelope eat the grass, and we eat the antelope. I haven't done it justice right then, but it talked about, as you die, you become the earth, and the earth becomes the plants, and the plants becomes the food for the creatures, and then you eat the creatures if you're a human. So, well,
yeah,
all the plants.
Yep, it's quite interesting you say that, because I remember listening to someone talking about that in the sense of that we're all just molecules and atoms, and even when you're supposedly burnt to a crisp, your atoms and your molecules still survive and continue to they just transform into a different type of molecule atom, i.e. ashes, which then, like you said, go into the ground, and they give carbon and whatnot to the plants in the ground, which then grow, which then are eaten by the animals, which then are eaten by the humans. So if you took that as your catalyst, then in actual fact you don't ever actually die. You're constantly living. You're just living in a different form, in a different place, in a different time. which is very, very mind-blowing in that sense. Obviously consciousness then becomes a non-thing, but in terms of energy, you're still around. And so you and I could be, when we next visit the toilet, extracting, and I've got to be careful about this, we could be extracting Henry VIII from us.
Potentially, but well, I don't know. Did Henry VIII ever come and end up as part of the earth here in my backyard, which I grow broccoli in? I don't know.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I'm sure some of the people who lived in England that came over to New Zealand via thy ship, thy Waka, would have had a few of his atoms and molecules at some point.
That's interesting, because family history research and sort of genealogy is a bit of a interest for me. So it is interesting looking and thinking about, man, that person lived in like the 1700s. What did they think? What were their pastimes? And also kind of being grateful to them for having existed, because without them existing, you probably might not exist in the same way you do. So, but how often do we think, man, my 17th century ancestors, I really thank you. Thank you for working really hard, or
thank you for not dying from the Great Death.
Right?
Thank you for not dying during the Great Death, the Black Death.
This is great. I mean, hey, the potato famine of Ireland, the Black Plague, the Great Fire, Spanish flu.
So anyway, getting back on topic. because we just went on a massive tangent. I do love tangents, though. They're quite fun. So getting back to this final destination, let's get philosophical. At this point, I'm going to get my philosophical stone to come up on the screen. I'm going to have a Brucey bonus pose going on and some funky music. So it's going to be great. But philosophically speaking, I know it's a broad question, but what is your final destination past, without saying death? Because that's cheating.
What is the final destination without death?
Make it as simple, as convoluted as you want.
Well, I think you talked earlier about the continuation of energy and the continuation of you, and your example was Henry VIII being pooed out, so I think that's what you're implying.
It could have been we.
Okay. All right.
You're so disgusting.
So that idea, as groundbreaking as it seems, actually is not new. Like civilizations and people for eons have had this concept in their mind of rebirth, of continuation, of spirituality that exists further and longer than just a physical presence on the earth. So, and I think that's true. I don't think when you physically depart the earth, because hey, think about it. Like I can recall some of my ancestors and what they said. I can recall pieces of advice they would tell me. Like one piece of advice was, "All things pass." That was a piece of advice from my grandmother, and that she's left this earth physically, but she continues to exist within my mind and within that saying and within that meaning. So I don't think it's as simple as a physical presence on the planet.
Look, this is definitely a conversation for another time, because there's plenty of things you could say about it. But still, get me down to the nitty gritty. What is your final destination? What is that key philosophical component of your life when the dust settles, when the rubber meets the road, that you can say, this is my final destination?
Oh, okay. So the final destination 10 years ago, I might have told you was, hey, dead. But now I don't think that is the final destination. I think the final destination is the now. It's the present, because I don't think the destination ever actually arrives. There is no destination. We're constantly arriving at a new destination. I mean, when I go to the kitchen and make coffee, that's my destination. But when I get there, I'm not like, great, I've arrived. I don't put aside all my endeavors and all my thoughts. I make the coffee and I enjoy the moment, and I enjoy we might call it destination, but I don't think it's destination. I think it's the present. So that's your answer, Chris. The destination.
No, I like it.
The destination is the now, because the destination doesn't actually ever exist. We never arrive anywhere. We're constant.
So I like it. So you're saying the destination is the journey, basically.
Yeah.
No, I like that. That's very, very thought-provoking.
But I'm also saying that there is no destination, because
it's a fallacy.
It is. Yeah, it's a false truth, because after I get that coffee, I don't just poof, disappear.
Ba-ding, where'd he go? No one knows.
Case in point. See, you live on. You live on, despite ducking down and back up. Your destination, which actually is not a destination at all it is under your desk, and then you're back.
Finish. Yeah, false finish. Whatever.
Yep.
See, let me take it in a different direction. I like your direction, because that gives people an opportunity to think bilaterally, if that's a term. So my take on this whole what is the final destination is a little bit more linear. So I would think to myself, right, what is my final destination? Obviously, from our perspective of life, it is death. But what I would do is I try to imagine myself in the position of being in a place where I know death is upon me, or however you want to describe it. So I would ask myself, because it could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be, I don't know, you just don't know when it's going to be. So I asked myself a question. I'm like, so I'm in my dying death throes, knowing that the end is near, and people are going to be mourning for me, and they're going to be in a service or whatever for my death, a funeral. So at one point during the funeral, people are going to say things about me, hopefully positive. Who knows? But hopefully. So my question to myself is, what would I want those people to say about me? Like, what do I want? What legacy do I want to leave so that people have that opinion of me? So I kind of say to myself, I want people to say that I was a genuine person who breathed authenticity. That's my first thing. Like, I just want everything that I do now, I just do with authenticity. If I don't like it, I'll say, look, I just don't like this. Like, it's nothing against you, nothing against anyone. It's just doesn't float with me, you know. Rather than beating around the bush or kind of just doing things for the sake of doing things. Also authentic in the fact that I speak my mind, but I speak my mind in love, if that makes sense. Like I don't see the point in creating drama for the sake of drama and stuff like that. Like, for me, just get to the point and let's move on. But as well as that, you know, there's other things. You know, I would hope that people would say things like, you know, he was other-centered. So everything I did wasn't for my own gain; it was for other people's gain. Whatever that means. Like, there's a discussion in itself as well. So
yeah, that kind of fits in because, you know, even after you die, Chris, you know, if the things you've done were for others, then, you know, you will live on because you're part of that puzzle, you know.
But yeah, just to reel it back, because like I say all the time, you know, I'm the kind of person that lives in the now. Like, there is no past or future. There is technically, you know, when we look at language and stuff like that, but I mean, it's always now. Like, what just happened was in the past, but I don't look at it anymore because I'm now here, which is now. So my final destination is based upon now, like what you said before, to reel it all the way back around on itself. But that comes from a forward-thinking idea of what I want people to think that I was whilst I was in the now.
Okay, gotcha. Again, thought-provoking.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? That was what a way to end a podcast. Two thought-provoking. I wouldn't say they're contrasting. They're almost very similar, but they just come from two different angles, didn't they?
Yeah.
But they're all in the now rather than looking to the future or looking to the past.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about, you know, living in the now and sort of leaving a legacy of positivity and love, as you mentioned.
Yes, positivity, love. Right, Mr. Pugh, it's been wonderful again listening to your insights, listening to your wisdom, and being able to see that beard.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be on the podcast again, Chris. And yeah, cheers.
Any words of wisdom to leave us with? Put you on the spot.
Words of wisdom.
I remember I asked the person once, and they said, "Look up," and that was it.
Yeah, well, words of wisdom. I think I'm all wisdomed out. You know, I think the wisdom that I should be holding. I don't know. What is wisdom? Again, wisdom is perspective, right? Like I might say, hey, it's wise to do this, and you might think, oh, that's garbage. No way in heck am I doing that. That's rubbish. So hey, once again, wisdom is so unique. But I guess you could apply that argument to every argument, so therefore it's a cop out. So, what's the wisdom? Don't argue.
What I've learned is never ask you that question again.
What question?
Leave us with some wisdom. Never ask you again. That's a bit convoluted. Yeah. Right, see you later, Mr. Pugh. Much love. See you next week. Cheerio.
Cheerio.